we're going to get started. We're going to start with a little bit of hip rolling. If you have a foam roller and you want to use it, you can use it. You don't have to have it, but it might help you to open up your lower back a little bit more. So we're going to just start laying on your back with your feet either on the floor or on the foam roller. It's totally fine if you don't have a roller, just put your feet flat on the floor instead. And from here, just do a little bit of a curl of the pelvis and start to roll your hips away from the floor. And with each roll of your hips away from the floor, start to peel up a little bit more of your spine. So you're gradually rolling all the way up into your full hip roll. Having your feet elevated by the foam roller will just give you a little bit more range to move through. So just kind of massaging the lower back open, rolling the pelvis under, peeling the hips up and rolling back down. Do that a couple more times, opening up through the front of the hips, feeling like you're reaching long across the front of the hip joints, and then rolling back down, feeling like the upper body and the lower body are going in opposite directions, so you stretch out long. And twice more like that, just kind of working through the low spine. And on your next one, once you get back down to the floor, you can stay there and you can get rid of the roller, come over onto your hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and just round your lower back up towards the ceiling, pressing the floor away. And take a big inhale there once you get there, and then lengthening back out to one long line. And then again, pressing the floor away, scooping the abdominals up. You'll feel your shoulders blades move away from each other behind you, and then lengthen out from tail to head. And twice more, rounding your back, just again, stretching the spine open. And either keep doing what you're doing or start to take this into a full circle where you go into that cat back like you were. You go into a side bend, little bit of extension, side bend, cat back. You go a few times in each direction, circling around. You can imagine if you had pencils on your sit bones and you were drawing two sets of circles on the wall behind you. And reverse the direction around, scooping up. Nice. And last one, kind of thick movement quality. And then just shifting your weight forward and back from neutral so you're in one long line. Push your body forward and back, opening up through the back of the hips. As you shift back, feel like you're kind of fanning your sit bones open a little bit. And just do this twice more. And then sit back towards your heels, roll back over onto your back. And coming back to that shoulder bridge, hip roll situation we were doing at the beginning. So feet in line with the sits bones, roll your hips up. And once you get up at the top of your movement, shorten the distance between the ribs and the hips. See if you can really kick into those glutes by opening the front of the hips more. And then see if you can lift one foot off the floor an inch or so without anything else changing. Stepping down into the same footprint, so you're just marching. And today, go a little bit faster if you can, trying to not let your feet creep closer and closer to your butt, that they keep landing in the same footprint. Marching, trying to keep the hips from rocking side to side. And then roll back down to your spine. We'll do that one more time. Tip the pelvis, roll up. Legs are parallel, little lift of one foot, and then you can switch, trying to march in the same footprint. Going a little bit faster, lift, 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 lift. lift. Lower is better. It's a little harder, so try to keep your feet nice and low. And then roll back down to your spine and pause. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee, lift the leg up to tabletop. And then the leg that's in tabletop, I want you to have it push in towards one shoulder, slightly release, push in towards the middle of your chest, release a little towards the other shoulder. So if you can do it without your hands, it's a little bit more work. If you need to hold on to the leg, you can. So pulling in, release. So some of you are just statically holding. I'd rather have it be an active motion. So one leg is pushing into the other and vice versa. So one pushes the knee, foot, ankle forward, the other pushes the knee back. So it's a full continuous motion. It's not static. Switch which leg is on top and push, pull. It's really more of a push-push, but push with the knee, push with the ankle, push with the knee, push with the ankle. Ticking through different directions. Still, I see lots of you just staying really tucked in and barely moving. I want like the leg to go all the way back out to tabletop. So you're not just staying in a crunched position. Your legs should go all the way back out away from you. It's just different. It's not that what you're doing is wrong. It's just different than what I'm looking for today. And coming back in and bring both legs to tabletop. Take your knees together and your feet apart. So you're kind of like a lobster shape. And then take your toes together and your knees apart. Knees together, toes apart, toes together, knees apart. And then start to just move back and forth between those two directions, finding a kind of rhythm to it. Should feel kind of nice. We're going to be playing around with some internal and external rotation like this in various positions. And just do a couple more, finding that little groove. And then setting one leg down, set the other leg down. And from here, lift one leg up to tabletop. The other leg is going to stay down on the floor. Bring your arms up overhead. You're going to start to internally rotate both legs as you do your roll up. So you're going to reach your arms forward, start to slide your leg that was on the ground out, set the other foot down. You're internally rotated. So I'm trying to cross my knees over each other. Is this normally how I have you do it? No, it's different. So rolling back down, either bring that leg to tabletop or leave it setting on the floor. And roll up, internally rotate, one foot sets down, the other leg reaches out long, and then you come back in, dragging it back to parallel. And reach out and internally rotate the legs. If it's not working for you, you can do it in parallel, of course. But we're trying to open up the lateral line of the legs a little bit more differently today. And one more time like this. Rolling up, reach out, and rolling back down. Straighten the leg that's on the floor and circle the leg in the air, stirring the thigh bone in the hip socket. Just your normal one leg circle. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling, staying still, stable and still as you circle your leg around. And reverse the direction, circling around. Good. And then you're going to set that leg down, bend the other leg back in. The second leg will lift up to tabletop. The arms go overhead. You start to roll up. As you roll up, both legs internally rotate like your knees are trying to cross over each other. Should feel like the outside of your leg is opening a little bit. And then you roll back down and drag the leg back in. Do that a couple times on your own timing. Reaching through the foot, flex the foot on the straight leg. And again, rolling up, reaching through the back of the leg. Twice more. Rolling up, knees are crossing over each other, and rolling back down. And one last time. Rolling back down. The leg that comes to tabletop can stay. You can extend the other leg out long and stir the thigh bone in the hip socket, reaching the arms up towards the ceiling. Trying to still up the pelvis, long through both sides of the waist. And reverse the direction, circling in whatever range feels like it gives you some challenge to stabilize against. And then setting that leg down. Extend both legs out long, reach both arms out overhead. Do your full roll up. If you need to grab behind one leg to get up, you can, but roll all the way up. Internally rotate the legs so your toes and knees are pointed in towards each other. Do a little pulse, and then roll back down. If you can, keep the legs straight, keep them straight. Otherwise, bend and straighten them as you roll up. And roll up. You could straighten the legs now. Flex the feet, little pulse over the legs, trying to open up that lateral side of the legs. Rolling back down through the spine. And again, reaching the arms forward, peeling up, little pulse over the legs. Try to flex through the feet, open up the lateral side of the leg. And rolling back down. One more time. So try to internally rotate the whole leg, not just your ankles. And rolling all the way back down. Once you're back down, bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor. Bring one hand behind the head. The opposite leg is going to come up to tabletop. So start by just the leg in tabletop is going to reach out underneath you into one long line and then come back up. And it goes out and you bring it back in. Simple. So then we're going to add flexing the foot as you press out, bending it and pulling it back in. Flex the foot as you press out. And then we're going to add a little extra something. So you're going to stretch your leg out, flex your foot, take your leg a little out to the side, bring it back underneath you, and then bend it in. So you press out, sweep it a little side, back to the midline, and in, and then start to make that one thought. So it's not separate motions. As the leg comes into tabletop, you're going to add your upper body flexing up and across towards it. Lower down, sweep the leg, and flex up and across. Just take the leg as low as it feels good. Shouldn't feel like there's a lot of clunking or clicking going on. If there is, just try adjusting the height of the leg. And think about a little bit more internal rotation. So as this knee comes across into tabletop, it actually goes across the midline and you're internally rotated. You reach out to parallel, you sweep it out and across the midline, like you're trying to bring the leg to the back side of the shoulder as the arm comes across. And one more time. And then bring that leg back in. Lift the other leg up to tabletop. Other hand comes behind the head. Just press the leg out. Do that little away from the midline towards the midline and then back to tabletop. So press out, away, towards the midline and in. And then you can add your upper body coming across. Figure out how low the leg should go. If it's not working for you, you could just keep that bend and stretch and think of coming across the midline and reaching out to parallel. Nice. Cross the midline, sweep the leg, and and across the midline. Good. Sweep out and in. And 4, 3, 2, last one. And come all the way back in. Bring both hands behind your head and flex your upper body up as you lift one leg to tabletop. Set it down, lower your head down. Alternate between legs, lifting, lift, lower, lift, lower. Start to go a little faster. And then crossing the body, so the upper body is going to cross that leg. Make the leg as it comes to tabletop go across the midline. Twisting like you're going to try to send the knee towards the back of the shoulder, back of the armpit, up and across, up and across. Can be kind of playful, meaning that it kind of has a swing to it. It doesn't have to be super precise. You're just trying to keep it moving. And 4, 3, 2, and last one, and come back in. Grab behind one leg or use your roll up to come up to sitting. We're gonna try to get our pelvis to move away from our legs, our femurs a little bit. So either with your feet on the floor, or you can lift your legs up. They can be apart or together. Part's gonna give you a little more mobility in your hips. So you're not in your teaser spine. We're gonna try to be in a round position. So you're kind of C-curve. You're gonna try to leave your thighs where they are, round your body, your pelvis away from your thighs, and then come back up. So you're deepening that C-curve to round back a little bit, trying to leave the thighs where they are, scooping the abs and coming back up. You're trying to get space and opening through the front of the hip joint. So the pelvis spins underneath and the front of the hip joint open, versus you just rounding your upper back more. It's coming from the pelvis. Pelvis spins underneath, and then you scoop and tighten that ball shape up again to come back up. And deepen the abdominals to round back. Tighten everything back up to come back up. Yeah. Good. If your feet are off the ground, try not to have them be down. Have the feet be almost level with your knees. It'll help you. Yeah. Again, the knees can be apart or together. Depends on where you need to work for your hip joints and the mobility. Then we're going to take this into our rolling like a ball. So you're deepening the abdominals. You're going to roll back. As you roll back, I want you to extend your legs and flex your feet overhead, and then bend back in. So stay in the ball shape. Your head doesn't really set down on the ground. Your hair might touch the ground, but you're not resting your head on the ground. Deepen your abdominals and come back up. You can let the feet drop a little bit past horizontal now if you're adding the full roll. Still feeling that opening through the front of the hip, and then you're trying to keep that opening through the front of the hip the whole time. Couple more. One more time. And then set your feet down or leave your feet up and just slowly roll onto your back, legs in tabletop, and go into your single leg stretch. One leg reaches out and switch and switch. As you reach the leg out away from you, connect to the back of the leg, try to push down into the leg. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your legs into tabletop. lower them down, put your hands on your knees, just stirring your thigh bones around a second, and reverse the directions, little circles. And then we're gonna take our arms out to the side like a T and lift one leg up to tabletop and then the other. Elongate the shape of your knees a little bit so you're not in a pure tabletop, you're more straight than that. And then let your pelvis rotate one way, the legs will tick to one side and you turn and look the other way, and then you talk the other way. And I go in one way and the other. So keep it moving, one side and the other, and one side and the other. And to me, it feels different if your legs are all the way straight. So try it with that slight knee bent position. Try to create opposition through your upper body. Turn and look in the opposite direction. Your pelvis is moving. You're not just shifting your legs. Good. Should feel like your abdominals are working to try to keep that opposite shoulder down into the floor as you rotate. And then come back to the center and set your legs back down. We're gonna roll onto our side, facing towards the camera, and lay in one long line. Once you're laying in one long line, take the top foot and put it on the floor behind your bottom leg. So just put your foot flat on the floor. Lay all the way out so you have that little lift of the underside of your waist. And start with just lifting and lowering the bottom leg. I'm doing it kind of fast because I want it to feel a little bit like a bounce. Like if there was a ball underneath your foot and you were bouncing your leg up and down. And then start to play around with the leg being more turned out or more turned in. You can also play around with the leg being a little more forward or a little bit more underneath you. Kind of explore how this feels as you move through those different options. And then flex your foot and take this into an oval shape. Oval and oval. It's a horizontal oval. And reverse. Should hopefully feel your adductors working along the inseam of the leg. Good. And then lower the leg down, bend your knee in front of you, stack the other leg on top, take your top arm on top, let your head just kind of dangle down, and big circle all the way around, create opposition with your leg and your upper body. Big circles, about 3 in each direction, using your breath, trying to stretch towards the floor and then stretch your chest up towards the ceiling. And reverse, big stretch around. And when you're done with that, bring your arm back underneath your head and lift your top leg up to hip height. I want you to imagine there's a ball between your knees and that you're rolling the ball forward by pushing the top leg forward and then pull the top knee back. So you're moving the pelvis in rotation. Make sure your knee isn't dropped below your hip joint and that the leg is parallel. So it's rotation of the pelvis. Yeah, exactly. Nice, Chandra. And so you're not lifting and lowering, you're not kicking the leg. I know it's hard to figure out what exactly is happening, but the pelvis, the top side is rotating forward and then the top side is rotating back. If you think about it like your knee is going, you're reaching towards your knee and then you're pulling the femur back in the hip socket. Should feel both sides of the pelvis working, the bottom side as well. That looks good. Push and pull. If you do have a ball, you're welcome to try it. So it gives you something to move against and kind of helps you figure out how to do this. And then from there, you can put less weight into the ball. Patricia, see if you can not lift and lower your leg, but make your knee go further forward and further back, like your legs are like two skis and one ski is sliding along the other. You're cross-country skiing here. I know. Good. Most of you, I think, are doing it. Yeah. And then bring your legs back on top of each other. Then lift the top leg and shift your pelvis back, shift it forward, then lift, lower the leg. Just a couple. These are challenging, that you'll feel a lot of work here. Shift back, shift forward, pick the leg up, lower it down, shift, shift, pick it up, lower it down, and shift, shift, pick it up, lower it down. One more, shift, shift, pick it up, lower it down, set the leg down. Can give your hip a couple taps if you need. And then you're going to go back to the position we were in a second ago where the bottom leg was straight. This time I want to bring the top leg in front. It's totally fine if this top knee drops down. If you do have a roller or a ball and you feel like you need to set your knee on something, you can. It's a little easier for that outer hip. You decide. Pillow, block, nothing, roller. And then just lift and lower the bottom leg again. Same idea of shifting. If you're pointing the knee more up, the knee is more parallel. If the knee is pointing more down, and then you're ticking between the leg being more underneath you or it being more towards the front corner of the mat. Lift, lower. With nothing under your knee, your outer hip's working a lot more to hold the leg up. So if that's too much, then get something to put under the knee. Nice, Anne. And a couple more. Play around with that internal and external rotation we've been doing today. And then lower your leg down. Bring your leg towards the front corner of the mat so you're about 45 degrees in front of you. Lift the top leg up, just playing side kick, 2 kicks forward, 1 sweep back. Forward, forward, sweep back. And as you go forward and back, trying to keep your spine in neutral, the chest isn't rolling forward and back. Hold on to the floor if you need to. If you don't need the floor, then take your hand away. Two more. And last one. And then bring your legs down. Just take your arms forward one more time. This time straight up to the ceiling. Rotate open in your spine twist. Feel like you're reaching your top knee forward. Spinal rotation. Letting yourself sink a little further into it. And on your next exhale, come all the way back to the start position and come onto your hands and knees. And then just a hip release. So you're kind of swinging your hips from one side to the other, like a half of a circle. It'll swing and swing and swing. Should feel kind of nice. And then bringing your legs all the way together and hands underneath the shoulders. Bring one hand to your forehead, push the floor away, rotate your upper body towards the side, square yourself back off to the floor. Rotate to the side, square it back off. Try not to sink and let yourself rotate to the other direction as you come down. You're trying to stop at level shoulders. Try to connect to the back of the shoulders. Feel like you're only going as big as you can keep the pelvis still, and you're in one long line. Rotate, center back off. 2 more. Rotate, center back off, and rotate and center back off. Set that hand down, lift the other hand up, push the floor away, rotate, center back off. Trying to feel like you're lengthening the head and the tail away from each other. Connecting around that standing shoulder. Two more. And one last time. And then set your hand back down and either full circles of your pelvis or the hip swing again, just a couple more. And reverse it. 4, 3, and last one. And then come to laying on your second side. Once you're laying down on your side, you're going to bring the top leg behind the bottom leg. Foot can be kind of on the floor, stack your hips, and then lift and lower kind of in a bounce quality, like there's a ball underneath your foot and it's bouncing your leg up and down. And you can start to kind of play around with the angle, the leg being a little more forward, the leg being more underneath you, the leg being more turned in, the leg being more turned out. And as you kind of move through those different directions, find that little bounce or release quality that you're trying to feel like your leg is going up, down without a lot of muscular effort. It should feel more like it. You start the motion and then it perpetuates itself. Yeah, good. Trying to keep your torso relatively still so your whole body isn't kind of sliding around on the mat a lot. The legs moving independently. Nice. And then flex your foot and circle horizontally. Horizontal circles. And reverse. And then lower that leg down. Bend your knees up in front of you. Lift the top leg up to hip height. So now you have 2 legs directly on top of each other. The top knee is going to slide past the bottom knee so it reaches further forward. And then you're going to pull back into the hip. So the knee slides forward and back. Both legs stay on top of each other as you're gliding the leg. Yes, that looks good. If you had a ball between your leg, you'd be rolling the ball forward and rolling the ball back. Couple more here. Try to make sure your knee isn't dropped below your foot, that your leg is parallel still. And then we're gonna take a 2-second break. You can tap a couple times if you need to. And then we're gonna add that little lift lower to this. So the leg glides forward and back, lift, lower and forward, back and lift, lower and forward and back and lift, forward and back, lift, lower and forward and back. And last 2, and last one. And lower your leg down, take both arms forward, big circles up and over your head, circling around, stretching in all directions, trying to rotate your chest towards the floor and then towards the ceiling, create some opposition through that bottom, through the pelvis and the lower body. And about 3 in each direction, reverse on your own timing. And last one, finish by bringing yourself back into that side position. Stretch your legs out underneath you. Nice long line through the torso for your side kick. Lift the top leg up, 2 kicks forward, and sweep your leg back and forward. And feel like you're lengthening through the front of the leg, opening up the back of the leg as you go forward and the front as you go back. Last 2. And last 1. And then we're going to bring the legs back underneath you. If you can, either knee resting on something, or it's just going to stay lifted, and you're going to tick the bottom leg through some of those different directions, more directly underneath you, slightly more towards the corner of the mat. The angle of the leg can be turned out, it can be turned in, it can be parallel. As you rotate through those different directions, just trying to feel that connection up through the inner thighs into the pelvis and into your core. Very nice, everyone. As you're lifting and lowering, especially if there's nothing under your knee, it should feel like you have to work to stabilize here. And last couple here. And then do a couple ovals. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse. And then bend both legs underneath you, reach both arms forward, reach the top arm up to the ceiling, spinal rotation, rotate your torso open, take a few breaths, let yourself sink a little further into rotation. As you stay there, feel like the top side of the pelvis is still reaching forward through that top knee as your upper body is rotating back. And on your next exhale, come all the way back to where you started from and roll onto your stomach. Once you're laying on your stomach, separate your legs, turn them out. You can put your hands under your forehead to start and just bend one knee, letting your heel almost kick you in the opposite butt cheek, but you're only going to bend as much as you can keep the pelvis neutral. So you're not going to let the hips lift up or rotate the pelvis. So you might not be able to literally kick yourself in that situation. Yeah, exactly. And then leave your legs still for a second. Bring your arms into that W shape like breaststroke preps. You're gonna lift your upper body and one arm off the floor. Reach that one arm forward and then circle it around. Turn your thumb up towards the ceiling and turn and look in that direction. And then set that hand down, lower your upper body a little. So you lift your arm and your torso, you reach the arm forward, you circle around and you look towards the hand. Do that a few times, starting to make it continuous. So one side goes right into the next. It's like your single arm breaststroke. As your arm presses back, spin your thumb up towards the ceiling. Think of the back of the hand trying to cross over the midline. Probably is not going to, but you're trying to think of it going across your body, behind you. Yeah. And then when you're ready, you can add the opposite leg to this. So you reach the arm forward and it's like you're trying to touch your foot. Reach forward, try to touch. So the foot's coming across the midline and the upper body's coming across the midline to meet each other. Finding this cross pattern through the body, through the back of the body. If you want to grab a hold of the foot, push into the foot and find a little rock, you can. And then at some point you release and you find the other foot and you find that little rock. You have to push your foot into your hand. So your leg is kicking into your hand as hard as you can so that it's trying to straighten even though your hand is holding it. And that's what gives you that rocking feeling. Yeah, nice. Let your upper body rest back down. Push yourself back into your shell stretch. Just round your spine in the other direction. And then come down onto your forearms and knees. And we're going to reach one leg out behind you. Lift it up as far as you can keep neutral. And then keep the thigh where it is and pull the heel towards the tail. And then press the leg back out. So you're trying to not move the thigh in order to bend the leg. Create a little internal resistance for yourself. So you're trying to think of like if somebody was trying to push against you and not let you bend your leg. Pull it in, press it out. Pull it in, press it out. Nice. I think flexing your foot will help. So see if that gives you more activation through the back of the leg. 4, dorsiflex the foot. Yeah, 3. Try to get your leg as high as you can. It might be able to go higher than mine. That'd be awesome. And then hold it in that bent position. Little pulse up, up. Your pelvis is staying level. You're trying to push up. Up from right under the glute. Imagine if somebody came over and sat on your foot and you were trying to lift them up. So you create some weight to the movement. Push, 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 and 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring that leg back in. And the other leg reaches out behind you. Lift it up as high as you can. Neutral spine. And then pull it in. Press it out. Pull, press. Feel like you're opening through the back of the knee. Pull and press the leg out long. Good. Trying to make a thick quality to your movement so it's like you're resisting the pull. Create a little more hamstring work for yourself. One more time, and keep the leg bent and that little pulse up from right underneath the glute. Push up, push up, push up. Somebody's sitting on your foot and you're having to lift their whole body weight. Hopefully they're little. And push, push. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your leg back in. Sit back towards your heels. Just stretch back for a moment. And then come onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. And hover your knees up in your leg pull front prep. This is one of those great core exercises, so we do it almost every class. And hover the knees up. If you want to add to that, you could lift one leg up, keeping that same shape we just practiced. So you're kind of extending at the hip joint, or you can just, yeah. So the knee stays bent and you're trying to press the leg up towards the ceiling, keeping the shape of it bent, and then it comes back down. Yeah. So you're doing hip extension, not knee extension. Yeah. And then if you're hovering, take a break. If you're not hovering, try hovering. Hover the knees up, press one leg up, bring it back down. Press it up, bring it down. Nice. 2, 4 of them, something like that. You decide how many you can do and keep it. Awesome. And then tuck the toes under, push. Yeah, push back into your feet. So you're kind of in your downward dog shape, a little bit like downward dog. You don't have to have your heels down. And then lift your heels up. As you try to lower your heels, try to lengthen through your upper back and fan your pelvis open, your sits bones open. And one more time, lift and round your spine a little bit. And as you lower your heels, try to open the sits bones. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Find your weight over the legs again. Round the pelvis under, roll yourself up to standing. Good. And then nod your chin, roll back down. You'll walk your hands out 4 steps into your plank. You can set your knees down if you need to. Full plank. You can set the knees down if you want. You could step one foot out to the side and bring it back to the center if you like. Little taps. Or just hold in the kneeling plank or the full plank. Nice. And then shifting your hips back, round your spine to walk your hands in towards your feet. Drop the back of the pelvis and start to roll up to standing. Good. One more time, we're going to roll down, round through the spine, roll back down towards the floor, walk your hands out. We're going to do our push-ups. So either in your full plank or a kneeling plank, long through the spine, down, further, press up. 3 sets of 3. 2, 3, press up, down, 2, 3, press up. Sit back into a shell stretch, rounding your spine. And then come back forward onto your hands and knees. Starting with opposite arm and leg, you're going to reach the opposite arm and leg out and up and bringing it back down. Do that a couple times. Simple, trying to keep your back level. If you'd like to take this into same arm as leg, shift a little bit more to one side and lift the same arm as leg. A little bit more balance and control required. If you want to lift in the same arm as leg, then push the floor away, rotate to the side, square yourself back off to the floor, and then bring it back in. You can add that. Rotate to the side, square your shoulders and pelvis back off to the floor, and bring it back down. Obviously, that's a progression. You're trying to make it so the arm and leg go at the same time if you're adding that in. Yeah, so the arm and leg reach out and up, push the floor away. Twice more, whatever you're doing. And then you're going to set your hands back down. Good. Stay here in this hands and knees position and reach one leg out to the side as far as you can. Let it set down on the floor. Okay, so that's going to be your goal, is to go all the way over there where your leg is now. And then you're gonna lift your leg up and back behind you. If it gets to be too much, you could go down onto your forearms. I don't think it's easier on the forearms. It just changes the relationship of the body with your leg. And so it might be a little easier on your back if that's what you're feeling. Tap to the side, lift up and back. Tap to the side, lift up and back. Leave your upper body more or less where it is, and then it's just the leg moving. 4, 3, 2. Hopefully you feel some work in the standing hip. Hold the leg up behind you. Little circles, reaching through the heel, opening the back of the leg. Circle. Flex your foot. Push through both arms. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring that leg in. Step the other leg out to the side, however far it can reach. And then you try to go from there to directly up and back behind you. Tap to the side, way up and back behind you. Trying to stay more or less stable. You'll feel that opposite arm wants to come off the floor, it wants to bend. Try to keep grounded through that side. Hopefully you feel some obliques. Yeah, exactly. A few more here. Good. If you can keep from side bending towards the leg and then away from the leg, it will be harder. So you're trying to keep the torso still. Last 3, 2, hold the leg up behind you, flex your foot, and circle. Reverse. And then bring your leg back in. Shift your weight back onto your feet. Again, round your back and lift your heels a little bit. And then feel like you open the back of the legs as you lower the heels down. Do that once more. Round your back a little bit. Bring your head towards your knees slightly. And then lower the heels, lengthen through your upper back. Walk your hands towards your feet. Drop the back of the legs. And slowly roll up to standing. Slowly. We have one more thing to do. So then reach your arms up towards the ceiling. You're going to teeter onto one leg and tip yourself to the side. So it's basically like side leg work standing, and then come back up. Feel like you're pushing down through your arms to help you balance. Go as far towards horizontal as you can, and then come back up. Yeah, it's like you'll go pretty far and then you're like, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden you'll go further and everything kind of crumbles. So think of like you're pushing down into something really firmly and alternate between sides. Tipping over. The standing leg can bend, that's totally fine. And let the standing leg bend if it helps you. Push through the arms. It won't work if your arms aren't pretty firm. Push to your side. Good. One more each way. And if you want to stay in this little tipped position and do a circle here of the leg in the air, go for it. Just a couple. And then find your way back up. And last time, tip to the other side. Once you're tipped, find your little circle. And then setting your foot down. Bend your knees. Straighten your knees. Feel the opposition of the feet going down and the head goes up. The heels can rise. Keep your head the same height off the ground as you lower your heels down. So you're stretching yourself longer. One more time. Bend the knees. Straighten the knees, feel the opposition down and up at the same time, and then more down and up at the same time to lower your heels. Good job. Hopefully you guys feel all right. That was nice work. Yay.